Namaskar. Dear student, from this lecture, we will start the series of lectures for Physics Paper 2, Unit number 3 of FYBSc Semester 1. Now as you see the syllabus of University of Mumbai for Semester 1 Physics Paper 2, in Unit 3 we will have to cover the origin of quantum theory. Today we will discuss some important points and then we will start the lecture series. Now when we think about quantum mechanics or the quantum theory, we will have to think about the two theories. One is the classical mechanics or classical theory and second is the quantum theory. Roughly we can say that the quantum theory is specifically because of the microscopic particle or the particles which exhibit dual nature. Means before going to the details of the quantum theory, we will have to highlight some points of the classical theory and why it is necessary to have the quantum theory. Classical theory is mostly for the macroscopic particles where the velocities are considerably small and the system is of macroscopic particle, whereas the quantum theory is applicable for the microscopic particle like electron, then alpha particle, etc. No doubt, the classical theory is the special case of quantum theory. Therefore, quantum theory is the superior set and classical theory is the subset of the quantum theory. But just as an introductory part, we can say that we will have to focus on the quantum theory for microscopic particles like electron. Now when we think about why it is necessary to introduce the quantum theory, then there are several points related with this. We will have to focus on the black body, then the black body spectra and Wien's displacement law. Actually we are aware about this. In 12th we have gone through the meaning of black body, what is meant by the Ferri's black body. Then we had gone through the black body spectra. We had gone through the absorption coefficient, emission coefficient, then emissivity, black body radiation and black body spectra, and based on the black body spectra what is the Wien's displacement law. Now we will have to take a review of all those points again because these points say something about the necessity of quantum theory of light or particle, quantum theory generally. Then when we think about the quantum theory, one more group of points is to be discussed and that is related with the matter wave. How it is according to the de Broglie hypothesis, for every particle there is wave associated with it and it is known as the de Broglie wave or matter wave. The wavelength of the de Broglie wave is lambda is equal to h upon p. We are aware about that. We will go through that in detail during our discussion. Then wave particle duality. How the wave and particle are mixed together. Sometimes the particle may behave as a wave or sometimes the wave may behave as a particle. Typically in case of light we are aware about different theories beginning from the corpuscular theory of light proposed by Newton, then wave theory of light proposed by Huygens. Then as we could not prove the presence of hypothetical medium, that is ether, luminescence ether, the Maxwell put forward a theory of electromagnetic wave and we have accepted that the light is in the form of electromagnetic wave. But after that it is observed that to explain some effects like the photoelectric effect, Compton effect, etc., we will be dealing with this in the last chapter. We could not explain those effects on the basis of wave theory of light and therefore we will have to put forward a quantum theory of light. Planck put forward a quantum theory of light and nowadays we are assuming that light exhibit dual character. Similarly, why not particle should behave as a dual character? And it is yes, therefore For every particle there is wave associated with it. It is in accordance with the de Broglie hypothesis. Therefore, we will have to focus on the wave particle duality. Then when we think about the quantum mechanics, or when we think about the wave to represent a particle, a single wave is not sufficient. It is necessary to have a wave group, and which leads to the uncertainty principle. The basic principle is related with the position and momentum, simultaneous measurement of position and momentum of a particle, and it says that the product delta x, delta px is always greater than or equal to h upon 2, where delta x is uncertainty in the measurement of position and delta px is the uncertainty in the measurement of momentum of the particle. Actually, word simultaneous is important. Both the position and momentum, when we measure simultaneously, then the product delta x delta px is always greater than or equal to h upon 2. We will discuss something about the uncertainty principle proposed by Heisenberg. Now, the de Broglie hypothesis says that it is hypothesis, but there are two experiments which proves the wave associated with the particle. We are aware about the Division-Germer experiment, which is the experiment of single slit diffraction of electron, typically with help of the metal as a diffracting element. And there is one more experiment which is by G.P. Thomson, therefore it is known as the Thomson experiment. These two experiments proves that there is a wave associated, that is the experimental proof of the de Broglie hypothesis. We will have to go through those two experiments. Okay. Now, here there is end of the first chapter in which we will have to deal with the quantum theory. We will have to introduce the quantum theory of light or particle. Generally quantum theory, because it is not related with only light, it is not related with only particle. In the second chapter of this unit, we will have to discuss something about the production of X-rays. How the transition of electron gives rise to the electromagnetic wave. Now remember that when we say something about the light, sometimes we will have to call light to be in the form of electromagnetic wave. That means if the certain phenomena can be explained on the basis of wave theory, then we will call the light as a electromagnetic wave. Like X-rays. X-rays are the electromagnetic. We are aware about the spectra of the light, beginning from the cosmic radiations, then the X-rays, then the ultraviolet light, violet light, then the visible light up to red, then infrared light, then the microwave, and then radio waves. Correct? Now this spectra is explained on the basis of wave, that is light as a wave, electromagnetic wave, based on their wavelength or based on their frequency. In this chapter, we will have to consider light in the form of an electromagnetic wave, therefore X-rays, how the X-rays can be produced and what are the different properties of X-rays, what are the different types of X-rays again. Then we will have to discuss something about the X-ray spectra, that is continuous spectra, and characteristic spectra of X-ray, that is depending on the particular element, that is target, which produces the X-rays. In the use of X-rays, we will have to focus on the Bragg's law, which is nothing but the law of diffraction. It is 2d sin theta is equal to n lambda, where lambda is the wavelength of X-rays, d is the separation between interatomic plane. And based on this, how we can use the X-rays for determination of different crystal structure, that is applications of X-rays. Okay, this is a very small chapter based on X-rays. In the third chapter of this unit, we will have to discuss something about different effects which can be explained on the basis of particle nature of a light. That means again the importance of the quantum theory or the importance of the wave particle duality in case of a particle. For example, we are aware about the photoelectric effect. Already we have discussed this photoelectric effect, how the interaction of photon with the matter, that is cathode, leads to emission of electron, and how we can explain this on the basis of collision between the electron and that photon as a particle, that means light as a particle. Therefore, if we will have to explain the photoelectric effect, we will have to assume the light to be in the form of a particle, that is photon. It is wave-like particle. Okay. Similarly, there is a Compton effect. In Compton effect, because of the interaction of light with electron, there is a change in the wavelength of a light. After scattering, the light wavelength gets changed. And how it can be explained on the basis of the particle nature of photon, we will have to discuss. And therefore, we could not explain the Compton effect on the basis of wave theory of light. And for that, we will have to assume the light to be in the form of a particle. Similarly, two more phenomena are there. One is the pair production. That means how the photon leads to, that means how the light leads to two particles. Now remember that these particles are not like the classical particles like a marble or like a very small particle of a dust or chalk or iron, etc. But these are some fundamental particles like positron, electron, etc. And how the light, that is photon, can be split to give rise to two particles. It is known as the pair production. Then how the interaction of light with the huge gravitational object is there, and which can be explained on the basis of a red shift, that is photon and gravity. That means if I throw the stone in upward direction, then the velocity of stone goes on decreasing, it reaches to 0 and then the stone falls down. Similarly, if I throw a light in vertical direction, if I am on the ground, college ground at night, and if I have a laser in my hand, if I throw the laser in upward direction, that means light, not the laser source, in upward direction, and the laser beam goes on, the velocity goes on decreasing, the light stops there and then falls on the ground again. That means if I make it on and off, after some time again it falls on my eye from upper side. Is it possible? In practice it is no. But how we can explain, or how it can be observed? Okay, red shift can be observed, which indicates that the interaction of light with the huge gravitational object is like the interaction of particle with another particle, like the stone thrown in vertical direction, etc. And which leads to the red shift. That means if the light is coming from the huge object which is in the space, then how the actual wavelength and the wavelength observed by the observer are different. How there is a shifting of wavelength towards higher side, that is red shift, means actual yellow light when we observed, then it can be observed as a red. Now what is the reason behind that, and how we could explain this phenomena on the basis of particle nature of a light. This is the overall journey of the unit number 3 in paper 2 of physics semester 1, okay, 5BSc. Now before starting the discussion, I would like to say something about how there is a development of theory. Now see, the entire journey is to find the ultimate truth. It may be of the science, or it may be of so-called ज्याला आपण अध्यात्म असं म्हणतो. The entire journey is to find the ultimate truth. The development of science is like this. What we will have to do? We will have to propose a theory. Okay, we will have to propose the theory. Then we will have to verify the theory, either by observation of the natural things or by doing experiment. Correct? Or by doing experiment. For example, I will give you the example of development of different theories of light, because the theory of lights are in association with this quantum mechanics. Then what will I have to propose the theory, validate it, do some experiment for the validation of the theory. Now if the theory is strong theory, or if the theory could explain the phenomena, observed phenomena, then it is fine, accept the theory as it is. Otherwise, modify the theory or discard the theory. Correct? Modify the theory and discard the theory, and we will have to repeat this process again and again. Correct? That means the situation is something like this. A very good example of this development is the different theories of light. Someone has told me that though the Newton's corpuscular theory is the scientific theory, first scientific theory of light, we can go before that. काही हिंदी पिक्चरमध्ये असलं म्हटलं जातं की आँखों की रोशनी चली गई. म्हणजे एक पब्लिश न झालेली थेरी अशी आहे की डोळ्याकडून काहीतरी लाईट जातो बाहेर, मग तो त्या ऑब्जेक्टवर पडतो आणि म्हणून आपल्याला ते ऑब्जेक्ट दिसतं. बरोबर, पण ही काही प्रपोज झालेली नाही. आपल्या व्यवहारामध्ये आपण ज्या वेळेला बोलतो एकमेकांबरोबर किंवा कधीतरी गावामध्ये वगैरे आपण चर्चा करतो तेव्हा असं म्हटलं जातं. आणि मग त्याच्यासाठी संदर्भ कुठे दिला, आँखों की रोशनी चली गई. म्हणजे लाईट तयार कुठून होतो आहे, तर आपल्या डोळ्यामधूनच तयार होतो आहे. अर्थात मी मगाशी म्हटलं तसं ह्या थेरीची काही सायंटिफिक गोष्टी अवलंबून नाही आहेत, आत्ता तरी पब्लिश झालेल्याशी नाही आहेत. त्यामुळे एक गंमत म्हणून फक्त मी तुम्हाला सांगितलं. विच वॉज द फर्स्ट थेरी? फर्स्ट थेरी वॉज प्रपोज बाय न्यूटन and it is corpuscular theory of light. He assumed that whenever the source of light emits the light, then the light is in the form of the particles called as corpuscle, that is beam of particles, okay, like this. Then the question arises, how we can explain the intensity of light? He explained that suppose the number of particles falling our eye per unit time per unit area is this. That means suppose this part of the light falls on our eye, only 4 particles fall, but this part falls on our light, so many particles fall. Therefore intensity is proportional to number of corpuscle entering our eye per unit time per unit area. अगदी सोपं उदाहरण आहे. आत्ता जिथे आपण बसलेलो आहोत तिथे वातावरणामध्ये धूळ आहे, बारीक बारीक धुलीकण आहेत, ते आपल्या डोळ्यामध्ये जात आहेत. पण म्हणून असं होतं का आपले डोळे लगेच चुरचुरायला लागले? नाही, कारण त्यांची इंटेन्सिटी खूप कमी आहे. पण समजा असं झालं, आपण मातीच्या रस्त्यावरून चाललो आहे आणि शेजारून एकदम भास्कन एखादा ट्रक जोरात निघून गेला आणि धुरळा उडाला. तो धुरळा जेव्हा आपल्या नाकातोंडात जाईल तेव्हा शिंका यायला लागतील, आपल्याला डोळे चुरचुरायला लागतील. कारण काय? तर नंबर ऑफ पार्टिकल्स एंटरिंग अवर आय पर युनिट टाईम पर युनिट एरिया इज मोअर, अँड दॅट इज नथिंग बट इंटेन्सिटी ऑफ लाईट. हाऊ वी कॅन एक्सप्लेन द कलर? Then according to the corpuscular theory of light, color of the light depends on the size of corpuscle. Suppose this is one beam of corpuscle, other side beam of corpuscle is like this. The intensity may be same, number of corpuscle entering our eye per unit time per unit area may be same, but the size is different, and therefore we feel the different color for different size of corpuscle. It is fine. There are so many phenomena which are observed in nature. One is the rectilinear propagation of light, which is so-called observed phenomena, because sometimes we can say that no, there is not necessary that the light propagates in along a straight line. For example, we are inside the home, sun is there, outside there is a roof, but still the sunlight enters the room because of the scattering of light through the different particles, air particles, and it is in accordance with the Huygens principle of secondary source. We are aware about that. But rectilinear propagation of light. Then one more phenomena of light is there, which is reflection of light. It is observed phenomena. Another phenomena of light is the refraction of light. When the light enters from one medium to other medium, there is a deviation in the path of light. It is known as the refraction of light. It is observed that there is a simultaneous reflection and refraction of light. Both the things happen simultaneously, reflection as well as refraction of light. We are aware about the polarization of light. That means when we think about the unpolarized light, the vibrations are in all possible directions. We will discuss this later on if required. But in case of plain polarized light, the vibrations are only in one plane, etc. We are aware about that. We can observe these phenomena. Then we are aware about the interference of light. That means whenever the two sources illuminate a particular region simultaneously, if the sources are monochromatic, then coherent, etc., it is not a natural phenomena always, but sometimes whenever there is a interference of thin film, रस्त्यावर आपण पाणी साठलेलं बघतो, त्याच्यात पेट्रोलचा एखादा थेंब पडला तर आपल्याला कलर फ्रिंजेस दिसतात. That is the interference of light, and therefore it is natural sometimes. And therefore if there is a superposition of light from two different sources, S1 and S2, then there is a constructive and destructive interference. It is known as the interference of light. The phenomena which we can observe is the diffraction of light. That means whenever the region is illuminated by a single slit, instead of having the single maxima, that is the principal maxima, exactly in front of a slit, along with this principal maxima there are secondary maxima, something like this, and this is known as a diffraction of light. Okay. Few more phenomena are the phenomena observed in case of laboratory, like the photoelectric effect. I can draw some representative diagram which represents the photoelectric effect. This is cathode, and whenever the photon falls on this, it emits the electron. Correct? It emits the electron. This is photoelectric effect. Then there is a Compton effect. That means whenever the electron is illuminated by a photon, then after collision the electron will travel along a particular direction, photon will travel along a particular direction, and the wavelength of photon changes. Correct? This photoelectric effect. Then there is gravitational, or we can say that the pair production. Whenever the photon is there, it gives rise to two particles. One is the positrons, we can say that E plus, and this is electron. Correct? It is known as the pair production. And another effect is when I throw the light away from the huge astronomical object, say for example galaxy or a big star, black hole, etc., then there is a change in the wavelength of a light, and this can be explained on the basis of the particle nature of a light only. These are different phenomena. Some are natural phenomena we can observe in day-to-day life, some are laboratory phenomena, some can be observed in large scale or huge scale, etc. But suppose the theory could explain all the phenomena, then we can accept this theory. Now what happens? In case of the corpuscular theory of light, it is fine. It can explain the rectilinear propagation of light up to certain extent, reflection of light, assuming the repulsive force between reflecting surface and the corpuscle. It can explain up to certain extent refraction of light by assuming the attractive force between denser medium and the light. But it could not explain why there is decrease in velocity of light. Actually there should be increase, and the theory fails to explain this. Then it could not explain the simultaneous reflection and refraction. It could not explain the polarization of light, no issue of interference, diffraction, but could explain the photoelectric effect and rest of the effect. Therefore there are certain groups of effects. Okay, this is a group which can be explained on the basis of particle nature. This is a group which can be explained on the basis of wave nature of light. Particle rectilinear propagation is to be explained on the particle nature. Now as the theory fails to explain some effects, we will have to discard the theory. Then there should be decrease in the mass of a source, but we could not prove that. As the particles goes on, the source goes on emitting the particle, there should be decrease in mass, but we could not explain. And hence the Huygens put forward, we are aware about that. Huygens put forward a theory of light in which he initially proposed that the light is in the form of longitudinal wave, but later he corrected that the light is in the form of transverse wave, and these are the mechanical wave. Therefore they needs the ether to be a medium. Correct? Ether is the hypothetical medium required for the light. Then automatically there will be a principle of secondary source, Huygens principle of secondary source, and with help of this we could not explain the rectilinear propagation, but we could explain the reflection, refraction, simultaneous reflection, refraction, polarization, interference, diffraction. It is fine, and we feel that it is fine. The Huygens theory of light is a good theory, and light is in the form of a wave itself. But the problem arises with ether. There were so many attempts to prove the presence of ether. The Michelson's interferometer is used by Michelson and Morley, and some other scientists too. So many experiments has been performed to prove the presence of ether. In higher studies in SYBSE, you will go through the Michelson's interferometer and what are the different theories associated with ether. That means the ether drag hypothesis, etc. But ultimately we could not prove the presence of ether, and therefore we could not accept the theory of Huygens, because if it is a mechanical wave, it requires the medium. But the Maxwell corrected this theory, and beginning from that there will be the introduction of quantum theory, or at that time we need that there should be another theory substitute for the classical mechanics, because there are so many events which could not be explained on the basis of classical mechanics too. Okay, but typically in case of a light, the Maxwell put forward a theory in which he proposed that the light is not in the form of a mechanical wave like this, but it is in the form of an electromagnetic wave. Here there is electric field vector, here it is the magnetic field vector. They are perpendicular to each other and perpendicular to direction of propagation of wave, this x. Now for the propagation of electric and magnetic field, there is no need of medium. Electric and magnetic field can propagate through the vacuum too. Only the medium should have two terms. One is the permeability and second one is the permittivity. We are aware about that. In electric field there is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon, which is known as the permittivity. And in magnetic field we could write mu naught upon 4 pi, where is a permeability. But I removed the 0 and 0 because they are for free space if it is medium. But for free space there are finite values of epsilon and epsilon 0 and mu 0. Similarly, for medium, epsilon and mu are finite, and hence the electromagnetic wave can propagate through the medium as well as through vacuum. And therefore, there is no need of this ether. The theory remains almost as it is, only the nature of wave has been changed, and therefore it could explain the reflection, refraction, simultaneous reflection, refraction, polarization, interference and diffraction. It seems to be fine. But when we try to extend the explanation for the photoelectric effect, Compton effect, pair production and gravitational shift and the rectilinear propagation, then the theory fails to explain this, and therefore we could not accept the Maxwell's theory of light, electromagnetic wave theory of light, as the ultimate theory of light. And the Planck put forward a theory. Now in due course, the de Broglie put forward a concept of wave associated with particle. Suppose this is the particle, then how the particle can be explained on the basis of a wave or moreover a wave group. Correct? This is the envelope or it is the wave group, superposition of number of waves together. And this can explain the particle. Therefore, for every particle there is wave associated with it. The microscopic particles like electron, when we allow to pass the electron beam through a single slit, it gives rise to the diffraction, which is exactly similar to the diffraction of light. Hence, there is a wave associated with electron. Similarly, for alpha particle or some microscopic particles like proton, and there are limited microscopic particles. Therefore, we could not give you the example so many microscopic particles like this. But there are so many incidences where we can say that there is a wave associated with a microscopic particle or in macroscopic particle too, but we could not experience the wave associated with that because the required grating or required tool to observe that it is of very small. We had calculated in 12th what will be the wavelength associated with a truck of 1 ton moving with a velocity of 60 km per hour. The wavelength comes out to be equal to order of 10 raised to minus 28 minus 29, and if we will have to have the diffraction effect associated with a truck, then there must be a diffracting element, grating element, whose order is of the order of 10 raised to minus 28, and practically it is not possible, and therefore we cannot observe the diffraction effect of macroscopic particle. Now we are aware about that. Similarly, as there is a wave associated with particle, why not there is a particle associated with wave? Taking this into account, the Planck put forward a concept of wave group or the wave-like particle. This is a photon, which is a wave-like particle. It is not a particle, pure particle. It is not a pure wave, but it is wave-like particle which is called as photon, whose energy is h nu, where nu is the frequency of wave associated with it. Therefore, if we will have to think about this to be a particle of energy E and momentum P, then the corresponding wave is of frequency nu, which is related with energy as E is equal to h nu, or wavelength lambda, which is associated with momentum P, where is P is equal to h upon lambda. It is same as the de Broglie hypothesis. Lambda is equal to h upon P, where P is the momentum of particle and lambda is the corresponding wavelength of the matter wave. It's similar. This indicates that now, according to the Planck quantum theory of light, light is in the form of a wave-like particle, that is photon, of energy h nu, momentum p, that is h upon lambda. Means till today we are accepting that light is in the form of a photon. Now in short we can say that if we will have to explain the effects in which there is a propagation of light, remember that everywhere from this to this, we focus on the propagation of light. Light is traveling towards a medium, and after interaction, what happens for a light? It propagates. Light is traveling, it propagates. Light is traveling, oh yes, it is traveling only. Okay. Here it is traveling from two sources. What should be the effect on the screen? Here it is traveling, what is? But whenever there is an interaction, it interacts as a particle, and hence, if we will have to say something about the Planck quantum theory of light or generally light, we can say that now the light is in the form of a wave-like particle. During propagation, light propagates as a wave. एका ठिकाणाहून दुसऱ्या ठिकाणी जायचं आहे, light travels as a wave. But while interacting with a particle, it interacts as a particle. बरोबर, म्हणजे तिथे जाऊन जर बोलायचं आहे, म्हणजे मला एक गंमत आठवते बघा की चित्रपटामध्ये किंवा सिरियलमध्ये परमेश्वर अवतरला असं जर दाखवायचं झालं ना, तर आकाशातून असं काहीतरी वेव येते आणि मग जेव्हा जमिनीपर्यंत ती येते तेव्हा तो परमेश्वर तिथे उभा राहिलेला तुम्हाला दिसतो. तसं काहीसं लाईटचं आहे व्हाईल आणि म्हणून आकाशातून इथे यायला वेळ लागत नाही, ट्रॅव्हल्स विथ ए स्पीड ऑफ लाईट. पण अवतीर्ण झाल्यानंतर मात्र आता लाईट नाही, आता तिथे पार्टिकलच्या स्वरूपामध्ये, म्हणजे असं काहीतरी एक आपण इमॅजिन करू शकू की लाईट प्रोपॅगेट्स ॲज ए वेव, अँड देअरफोर द फेनॉमेनाज विच आर associated with propagation of light could be explained on the basis of wave theory of light. And if there is an interaction with a matter, then light interacts with a matter as particle, and therefore see the interaction may be direct or indirect. In case of photoelectric effect, it is direct interaction. In case of Compton effect, it is direct interaction. In case of pair production, there is no interaction with matter, but light split into two particles. And in case of the gravitational redshift, it is indirect interaction. That means light is moving away from a huge astronomical object, but it is interacting with a particle, that is huge astronomical object, and hence it behaves as a particle. Velocity goes on decreasing. Velocity could be relate with a wavelength like this, that is p. Velocity means momentum goes on decreasing, and therefore wavelength goes on increasing like this. Wavelength goes on increasing. Correct? This is the overall development of a light. Similarly, Newton put forward the laws of motion, first law of motion, second law of motion, third law of motion. Then based on that there are kinematical equations. We could develop the theory, so many phenomena or so many equations are there, how we can calculate energy, kinetic energy, potential energy, etc., etc., etc. But when we try to apply the Newtonian mechanics, typically the mechanics of macroscopic object for the microscopic object, then it fails. That means we could not write the equation of motion, that is mass into acceleration is equal to force for electron. At that time we will have to develop some Schrodinger wave equation. Correct? This indicates that for the microscopic particle we will have to have some other theory. Meanwhile, there is a correspondence principle. Why I am calling that the classical mechanics is a subset of quantum mechanics? The correspondence principle says that if we use the large quantum number, the quantum number is one more outcome of the quantum theory, that is the theory or wave theory. Sometimes wave theory is known as quantum theory or quantum theory is wave. We will discuss in the next session or at the end of this session itself. Now it is outcome, and therefore we can say that for a large quantum number, quantum theory or wave theory reduces to classical theory, that is Newtonian theory, and therefore Newtonian mechanics or classical mechanics is a subset. Now we will discuss why we will call this as the wave mechanics or quantum mechanics, and then we will stop today. See, as there is a wave associated with this particle, or if we will have to discuss everything in the form of wave, we will have to begin with the wave equation. It is dou square psi by dou x square is equal to 1 upon c square dou square psi by dou t square. Just remember this equation. This is a wave equation where psi is the function of x and t. We are aware about this. which is generally mentioned as a e raised to I omega t minus kx. It is simple harmonic progressive wave, or it can be written as it is a sine omega t minus kx. This is in trigonometric form, this is in exponential form, e raised to something. Okay. Now as there is wave associated with a particle, therefore we can express the particle by means of the wave function psi. The theory is known as wave mechanics, or the mechanics is known as wave mechanics, wave theory. When I continue with the wave theory, if I use the boundary condition, initial condition, etc., and if I try to solve this equation, or if I try to solve the Schrodinger equation, typically Schrodinger equation plays the similar role as that of equation of motion, that is mass into acceleration is equal to force. Equation of motion in classical mechanics, Schrodinger equation in quantum mechanics, that is wave mechanics. It leads to certain quantum numbers, certain integers. We are aware about n, l, then ml or simply m, then ms or simply s, that is principal quantum number, azimuthal quantum number, magnetic quantum number and spin quantum number. We are aware about that, correct? Simply m or s. Why they are called as quantum number? The wave mechanics leads to quantization of so many things, or almost all things. What is meant by quantization? Nothing can increase in continuous manner. We are aware about the quantization of charge. It can be explained easily. Charge on electron is 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 coulomb with negative sign. It is fine. Therefore, is it possible to have the charge on this particle? This is the particle A, say for example. Can you keep a charge of 1.0 into 10 raised to minus 19 coulomb on this? Or can you remove the charge of 1 into 10 raised to minus 19 coulomb? Answer is no. Because the quantum of charge is 1 electron. That is, the charge must be integral multiple of this E. Therefore, Q should be equal to plus or minus NE, where N is integer and this is known as quantum number. Means charge is quantized. कंटिन्युअसली चार्ज वाढू शकणार नाही, तो टप्प्याटप्प्याने वाढणार आणि त्याचा टप्पा काय आहे तर इलेक्ट्रॉनवरचा चार्ज आहे. नाउ ॲज इट इज व्हेरी स्मॉल 10 raised to minus 19 in normal example we may write it is 1 coulomb, 4 coulomb, 7 coulomb etc., but we will have to check, is it possible that the charge of 1 coulomb is there exactly 1 coulomb? The obvious answer is no, because it must be integral multiple of this. मग जर तुम्हाला 4 कुलोम हा याला कितीनी तरी मल्टिप्लाय केल्यावर मिळत असेल देन इट इज फाईन, अदरवाइज नो, इट मे बी 4.0000578 etc. Okay, but as the basic charge or the quantum of charge is so small in macroscopic terms, we can call it as 1 coulomb, 2 coulomb, 3 coulomb etc. Like similarly the mass is quantized, the position is quantized. एका ठिकाणाहून दुसऱ्या ठिकाणी चालत जात असताना मी कंटिन्युअसली चालत जाऊ शकणार नाही, पण मी कंटिन्युअसली चालताना दिसणार कारण मी मॅक्रोस्कोपिक पार्टिकल आहे. पण इलेक्ट्रॉन इथे होता, मग इथे होता, इथे होता, नाही, शक्य नाही, तो इथे असेल. बघा इथे इंटेन्सिटी मॅक्झिमम आहे पण मध्ये मिनिमा मिळाला, पुन्हा मॅक्झिमा. इट इज नथिंग बट ए क्वांटायझेशन ऑफ स्पेस. इट इज इक्विव्हॅलंट टू क्वांटायझेशन ऑफ स्पेस. Similar results we will have to discuss in semester 4, that is SY semester 4. That means there is a quantization of space. It leads to quantization of everything. In Bohr theory we are aware about the quantization of radii of electronic orbit in hydrogen atom. First radius is say for example R1, then the next possible radius is 4R1, 9R1, then 16R1 and so on. In between 4R1 and 9R1 it is not possible. Energy is quantized, some constant into 1 upon n square. That means 1, then 1 upon 4 of E1, then 1 upon 9 of E1. That means energy is quantized. Correct? And as the wave theory leads to quantization of almost all the things, the theory is known as quantum theory. Therefore, why it is called as quantum theory? The reason is that. Okay. Now today with this background we will stop here. In the next lecture we will begin with the origin of quantum theory. We will continue the origin of quantum theory, then we will introduce the black body and black body spectra, and we will continue. Okay, thank you.